Welcome to part 3 of my Soul Spark series, where I discuss what I've learned on my spiritual journey via a twin flame path. Please subscribe if you haven't already, if you are interested in getting what I consider to be helpful info on twin flames. And a lot of what I get into are things I haven't seen or heard elsewhere, or some of it's just not mainstream. I have Relax Daily playing in the background, his weightless episode, and I'll provide a link below. Today I'm going to do what I did in part 2 of Soul Spark because I want you to see the way the energy is shared across the one soul. So this is the one soul with the divine feminine and divine masculine, yin and yang. But it also represents the shared energy between the two physical bodies. So, like when you hear someone talk about, the divine masculine is going through this right now, da 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 da, like then they turn around and say, well, the divine masculine, they may not be aware in 3D. Like, what does that mean? That's very confusing to me. Because I'm like, is this directly affecting him, or what's going on? So this leads me to do something which I feel may get questioned or challenged, but I think that it'll help provide more understanding with the way some of us may be looking at this connection. And that's why I'm here, is to provide support and promote positive growth. And I think that's why we're all coming together, promoting this community, like sharing our experiences and growing with it, because that's part of our purpose, to lead the world into this new way of thinking. So I know divine feminine and divine masculine get used a lot in the twin flame community, and we often refer to ourselves as the DF or DM. And we are representatives in those roles, but in my opinion, we shouldn't be referring to our 3D selves as that, because that's our higher self, which we may or may not be aligned with. And if we aren't aligned, then we're not in that divine energy. And I feel like it gets really confusing referring to myself anyway, like my physical self as divine feminine, when I might be talking about the divine feminine or divine energies or aspects of our soul. So I don't know if there's a term in place already. I haven't seen one, but I know people say 3D or physical body. But for the purposes of simplification in this video and from here on out, I'm going to refer to the physical bodies as interns. So I'll have the masculine intern, or MI, and I'll have the feminine intern, or FI. Trust me, this is going to get good. So if you haven't gotten into the understanding of how the shared energy works between twin flames, I'll just say that it's really progressed my journey considerably. So, the masculine intern, that's the physical body. That's that other person out there, or it may be you. So, the masculine intern, when aligned, represents divine masculine energy, but when unaligned, represents the wounded masculine energy. Same with the feminine intern, when aligned with the soul, represents divine feminine energy, but when unaligned, represents wounded feminine energy. Okay, buckle up, because this is where it starts to take off. So, the masculine intern, or MI, leads with what I'll call body, the physical side, which is mind, body, emotion. That's the body link with the soul. So, divine masculine energy is about leadership, action, confidence, being grounded, protective, giving, secure, being present, not afraid to follow their heart, which is their soul. That's alignment. Feminine leads with the spiritual side, which is more of what the soul is actually connected with. So we'll just say that the feminine leads with soul. Divine feminine energy is receptive, creative, nurturing, intuitive, fluid, can be compassionate and empathic. Secure, can follow their heart. And these are only a few energetic traits, just to name a few. So now that we know some of the polarities of both energies, we can understand how they complement each other, how they create balance. And they can also oppose each other, but it's done through balance. When in wounded energy, though, the masculine side can be ungrounded, insecure, flighty, weak, aggressive, withholding, uncertain, and it might look like this. So the feminine can be impatient, insecure, emotional, dramatic, anxious, needy, controlling, passive, if we were to be able to see the shared energy in those conditions. So, I'm going to give you an example of how some of these energies might show up in each of ourselves and our twin flame. So, as the feminine intern, you may or may not be aligned with your soul. You can have a positive or a negative impact on the 3D energy when it comes to the spiritual growth of the two physical bodies. Because remember how I said the feminine intern leads with the spiritual side, which is divine feminine or yin. So, say for instance, you're led to start working on meditation. And when you do that, you begin to shift the energy at that level of soul, that spiritual side, between the two of you here in the physical, because the feminine in turn is leading, the masculine in turn follows. Maybe they'll be led to start connecting with their intuition more, but it's going to be something, you know, on that same spiritual soul level. So, because that is positive growth for the connection, for the shared energy between the two of you, it's pushing towards alignment. So, for another example, we'll look at a negative impact. As the masculine in turn, or MI, say you have an addiction which is linked to the physical, which is mind, body, emotions. And remember, this is where the MI leads. It's getting good, isn't it? Okay, so the MI, as the MI, you are probably getting some nudges from the divine or higher self because the soul you share has been activated at soul recognition. And if you've been on this journey for even a little while, you've probably noticed some nudging and pushing, some leading and guidance. So the MI is being nudged to get out of this addiction. But maybe you're struggling and you keep going back to it. The FI would experience some sort of struggle with addictive patterns as well, like shopping or overspending. Just using it as an example, but it could be anything like being addicted to porn or overeating or obsessing with too much exercise. Okay, so because the masculine in turn leads this body part of the soul linked to the physical, the mind, body, emotion, personality, the energy shifts away from alignment for both of the physical bodies. This is how we're affecting each other, no matter where you are on the planet, who you're with, what you're doing. But when the masculine in turn starts to improve, then the feminine in turn will also improve with this part. And again, it's working towards alignment. Cool, right? That's how our energy works. That's polarity. And it may take time, but the more the feminine strengthens the spiritual side, the more it forces the MI to align because it's shared energy, or vice versa. If the masculine in turn aligns the physical, the feminine in turn is forced to align the spiritual. So look at that. Is it making sense? Okay, so I believe this is a misconception that the feminine the feminine in turn, or what most refer to as the divine feminine, leads the entire journey. But in 3D, the feminine in turn leads the spiritual aspects of the journey to soul alignment, with the masculine in turn reacting. The masculine in turn leads the physical side, the mind, body, emotion, to soul alignment, with the feminine in turn reacting. It's shared energy. And that's because it's a shared soul. You are one soul. Watch part 1 of Soul Spark if you haven't already. When I got to the heart of that vision, I started getting these downloads of information concerning this journey, and it's changing so much for me. And I'm really excited to be sharing this. I will say it's true that the feminine intern probably does lead most of this journey because it is a spiritual journey with awakening and ascension. And even after union, there will be more ascension because, and I do believe that union is meant for twin flames. Otherwise, what's the point of the twin flame journey when I could have been awakened another way? There are lots of ways to be spiritually awakened. And I'll get into that more in depth in my next video. There's just so much to share. But yeah, so it's about oneness, the whole, coming into alignment with our soul, which includes our twin flame. So it's not actually mirroring, but I don't disagree with that term. I just feel it goes deeper than what people take from that. It's about shared energy across the polarity of the soul. So when you move, they move. And if you step back and think about what I was talking about with body, with the masculine intern leading, and with soul, with the feminine intern leading, body and soul are meant to work together. That's why we're being called back to our soul. Yes, we had to go through some stuff. We had to step out for a little bit, but it was all for a reason. It's part of our story. It's part of our story that's going to move the world. Oh, and I'm adding this in. I have heard of people referring to the 3D twins as the spiritual twin and the matrix twin, which I agree the spiritual twin is the same thing as what I'm talking about, but the matrix twin I think is a bit different. From what I've learned from reading others' experiences, the matrix twin pretty much denies the connection, like shuts it out. They completely disregard to do the work even though they feel it and know there's something unusual going on, they just force it out until they no longer can. And that could fall under the masculine intern description, but that's the point. I want a term that covers all possibilities of the 3D twin. Could be someone who's in the matrix experience, could be wounded, could be aligned, could be awakened, could be ascending, and likely will experience all of that along their path. But also, I think that the so called matrix twin is um, not going to be as common as it has been in days past. Like in this day and age, I find it hard to believe that someone could have those crazy, intense thoughts and feelings and not come across why. Like, yeah, they might shut it out for a bit, but they're going to get pushed. And when they go looking for info, now it's easy to find. So I don't think they could remain in the dark about it for too long. But like 10, 20 years ago, no, I would have had no idea why I was going through what I went through. And I mean, sure, I would have gotten intuitively, I think, spiritual guidance, but it definitely would have taken me so much longer to come to accept it. And from another thing I've read, we're growing into this exponentially. Like I mentioned before, this support we get from each other in this community is helping that, and it's speeding up the growth for many. And because of that, I think we'll begin to have more twins come to union because that too is the design of this. I believe that the divine plan meant to bring this light to the world in this way. The twin flame path is just one type of way of spiritually awakening and ascending. Please like this video if you actually did like it. I hope you did. I hope this gives you a better perspective. It took a bit for it to sink in for me, and I know more is coming, so please subscribe. There will be more each week. Now go turn on some feel good music and vibe and share it.